Wallace Gator Bradley is a living legend. He also is my dear brother, whose courage and compassion inspire all of us to grow, develop, and become better persons. Brother Gator has lived a rich and blessed life that starts on the streets of the South Side of Chicago, through the prisons of Illinois, to the White House of the USA, and back to the schoolrooms and playgrounds to serve young people. Like his favorite piece of biblical scripture, God has preserved him from violence, delivered him from wickedness, and empowered him to fight for the cause of the afflicted and the right of the poor. Those are the words of Dr. Cornel West in the foreword of Gator Bradley's autobiography. Please join me and the incredible Wallace Gator Bradley in the arena right now.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go! Mr. Bradley,
Yes, ma'am.
in a press release that was faxed to us today, it says that at this press conference, you will announce the results of ongoing discussions. Can you tell me, point for point, your plan to keep the peace between all of these people here and anybody else out in the city that there might be friction between? Tell me your plan.
Okay, my plan is simple, okay? And the United Nations need to apply this plan, okay? If these brothers giving me their word that they're not going to kill one another when they will kill for any one of them emblems on there, okay, I believe them. I ain't God. I can't stop every killing. We ain't over to domestic squabbles. We talking about what y'all term as gang banging. I just came and did what they said couldn't be done. And that is to bring brothers who was once fighting one another to come with peace and love and stand here with one another, to be here with the mayor.
Wallace Gator Bradley.
Yes, sir.
I shall call you Brother Gator. May I do that?
I appreciate that, yeah.
There's a lot. Look, you and I have had time to talk. I've seen you on the air here speaking truth to power. And your life, the name of this show, is The Ultimate Transformation. And people talk about it. But the more I learned about you, the more I watch. Because sometimes words are one thing, but watching is when you see. I knew I wanted to talk with you, not just for my own edification and growth, but I knew that our viewers would get something out of this.
Correct.
So let's begin at the beginning. When and where were you born?
46 in Calumet.
Not in the hospital?
No.
Okay.
Brownsville.
All right, fair enough.
Right.
Tell me about the woman and man who created you.
My mother name was Ida Mae Bradley. My father was Wallace Bradley. He was a construction worker. Mother was a madam.
Okay.
And the wonderful thing about that, everyone in the community, the ladies of the night would bring their money to my mother. The brothers or the gentlemen that was trying to get with the ladies of the night would bring their money to my mother. The individuals that were supplying the medication to both of them would come to my mother. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching this. I'm watching the whole cycle
Your mother,
of the
the
game.
CEO of this operation.
The CEO of this whole operation, you know. She was the one that introduced me to my wife, that's Terry.
Yeah.
We've been together for about 41, maybe 42 years.
Yes. And I want to get back to Terry. I want to go through your life because, again, the transformation is breathtaking for those of us on the outside. I can only imagine what it's like actually going through it.
Right.
Tell me about life growing up in the Racine Courthouse.
Racine Courts, right.
Tell me about that life.
Racine Courts, out there in Morgan Park. Morgan Park is one of the oldest black communities. It used to be known really
as the first south suburb, more or less, because it was that far out.
Okay.
We used to have to take a bus on Vincennes just to get to the city on 79th, to take another bus to catch an L to go into the city. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Out there in Morgan Park, there was an organization out there that we was a part of. It was called the Lynchmans. So we became Lynchman Surcon Gangsters.
Okay.
Okay.
How old were you?
I was about 14 then.
14.
Right.
Your
Right.
first experience.
Right.
Okay.
You know, as a matter of fact, it was in 1968
Here I was
was
born.
when I went to what's known as the Oddie Home, juvenile detention. The same year that Martin Luther King had got killed. I just became a freshman at Morgan Park High School. And when he got killed, you know, it was white and blacks going to the school, and the school was separated like that. You know what I mean? And me and a couple of my guys, we got into the emotion of it. How could y'all kill Martin Luther King? You know what I mean? Okay. Same way like it happened all across the country. You know, you from Detroit. It happened in Detroit.
Yeah.
It happened all over the country. So,
Is that for you where you began to go, screw this?
no question.
Got it.
Okay. It went from me being charged with mob action. Went to Oddie Home. So I learned the different, for lack of a better phrase, venues of crime.
And again, we're 14, 15.
Right, 14.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So you go in there and you learning from the individuals, because they come from all over the city. West side, north side, south side, you know, east side.
So you're getting a different
So
education.
you get a real education, you know what I mean? Okay, so it became, you had to stand up for who you are when you come through the door. But behind us doing so much south side, the guys on the west side that was just like me knew that, okay, that's Gator. And I knew the guys on the west side, that's so-and-so, so-and-so.
You were Gator at 14.
Yeah. How I got the name, it was a cartoon character called Wallace Gator, swing this alligator in the swamp. I like to dance, I like to step,
on.
you know what I mean?
Yes.
And so Wally was the nickname for Wallace, you know what I mean? So the Gator stuck to this day. You know, so I went from there, learned, I got out, then I grew criminally minded because I wasn't civically in tune.
Gonna do one or the other.
You know what I mean? And I learned how.
And those
to
were the
mix
role
drugs.
models giving you information and education.
Right,
Those
because
were.
they got to understand this, even to this day. The juveniles are more aware of the rules of the law than the adults. Because once you go through that system, you learn. Like, fast forward, later in my life, I learned the streets. So I'm carrying the pistol, you know what I mean? Okay, it was 3 gangs on the south side of Chicago. It was the Stones, it was the Disciples, and it was the Gangsters. Okay, so Larry Hoover was over the Gangsters, David Boxdale was over the Disciples, and Jeff Ford was over the Stones. Okay, so Larry Hoover reached out to everybody that called themselves gangsters. That's why all worked together. Like David Boxdale, nobody could be a disciple unless they was up under him. Like Jeff Ford, nobody could be a Stone unless they was up under him.
So again, I'd like to draw parallels because you and I talked before we started filming of the similarities of our experiences, mine in Detroit. And it's never an issue of talent. It's an issue of support, exposure, and being pushed out of opportunity. Because
Correct.
Your mother was a successful CEO.
Right.
You got these gentlemen talking about mergers.
Right.
Of organizations coming together and operations and policies and having people who manage the business and keep things moving and manage talent. This is, in a lot of ways, I think we look at it sometimes from the outside, but what it took, like it or not, to run these operations is a lot of what it takes to run successful businesses.
Right, and to survive.
And to
You know what I
survive.
mean? Every neighborhood had their own community. We started off with softball teams, pretty much, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? And there's someone from another, we end up at a show. There's someone from another neighborhood attacked one of our guys because he went to the bathroom. Then we came to defend him, and that's where the gang fights come about. What I was able to do because of my mother and my father, come from a two family, you know what I mean? Mother and father. I saw the work ethics of my father, and it helped me when I caught my case and went to the penitentiary. When I came out.
Let me go back a bit. Because I want to just do the timeline.
Right.
68, you're about 14.
Right.
You're already in the gang life.
Right.
You become more fully associated with the gangster disciples.
Right. It was gangsters first. They became gangster disciple when David Barksdale and Larry Hoover merged.
When they
together.
merged,
Right.
Making them one of the largest
Right.
in that space. So 1968, a leader in the civil rights and the black community is murdered, assassinated, murdered, and knowing that would cause distress. By 71, you received a 5 years of probation for 2 burglaries.
Right.
By 74, you received a 1-year prison sentence and 3 years of work release for burglary and armed robbery.
They gave me 4 years in a day. Ooh. And how they gave me the 4 years in a day, we was after our joint. So we catch the guy that's cheating. You got to give everybody their money back. But whoever was with him, when he run out the door, he says, hey, they robbing the guy in there. So when the police come in, guns everywhere, drugs, everything everywhere, because the guy described me. Anyway, the judge says, well, Mr. Bradley, you have no witness for the armed robbery. Okay, you have no victim. He said, but you violated my probation. So I'm thinking that, okay, I just had 2 months left on the probation. Okay, I'll take the probation. And he said, no. When I gave you probation, I gave you a break from what the sentence I could have gave you for
And
the
this
burglary.
is back to the earlier offense?
Earlier, for the burglary. I could have gave you 5 to 15. Now, since you broke my probation, I can give you 5 to 15. He said, but if you take the armed robbery and I give the probation violation in with the sentence, I'll give you 4 years in a day. Back then, it was day for day.
Okay.
So I became a mathematician right there.
Yes.
I'll take the 4.
Yes, good for you.
And the 5 to 15.
You were always a businessman.
Right.
And you did something else. And this talks about transformation even before it really became apparent. Was it here, was that Stateville? Where you got your GED?
Yes.
You finished the education in prison.
Right.
And then, I want to just fast forward a bit to 89. You got what is incredibly rare. You got a pardon. From a Republican governor, James Thompson. Walk me through that.
Right. Jim Thompson, former U.S. attorney, law and order.
Law and order.
Republican. My mother and they now was dying from cancer. I was working on, in 88, because Jerry Butler had hired me in 87. I was working with Jerry Butler, and Reverend Jackson was running for president again in 1988. So they wanted Jerry Butler to be over the oversight committee. So Jerry Butler said, I want Gator to be it. So I went. So I'm feeling good. I've been out the joint since 75, you know what I mean? Off parole in 79. I'm working in government. I'm cool. But my mother must saw a program while she was in the hospital. She called me and said, no, my sister called me and said, hey, you know, Mom's in the hospital, she's real sick, and yada, yada, yada. So I left and came back to the hospital with my mother. And she told me, look, I know you're doing good. You're with Reverend Jackson, you're with Jerry Butler, everything is straight. You know what I mean? You're out the game, pretty much, right? So she say, but look, you got a right to your full citizenship rights.
That's what your
'Cause you
CEO
African.
mother understood.
Right, that's what she understood.
on.
What she understood.
Come on.
She say, go and put in for a pardon. They can't deny you. Because you finish your parole, you no longer the ward of the state or none of that. Okay, Mom, for you. The same mother that introduced me to Terry. Okay. I'm dating Terry then. And I
The one your
explained to you
mom
about that.
introduced you to.
Right. Me, her, and youngest son. That was Terry's son. He became my son. Because if you deal with the woman,
Come
you got
on.
to take the
Come
full
on.
package.
Old
Okay.
school.
We went down to Springfield. Now, in '89, this '89, I put my bid in. Mayor Daley in '89. Harold Washington died in '87. So Harold Washington had a term that was supposed to end in '91 had he lived. Mayor Daley ran in '89 because they had created a special election. So he won. So they had to appoint a state's attorney. My responsibility up under Jerry Butler was to go and poll all the other commissioners to get them to vote to appoint Cecil Partee, the first black state's attorney.
Wow.
So when I'm in Springfield, this state's assistant state's attorney, he's now a judge, white guy, he was over gang crime. He went in and he said I shouldn't have the pardon because who I am and all of that. So they took a recess and a break. I come out, I go to the payphone, I call the state's attorney, Cecil Partee. So when the assistant state attorney come out, I want to know who I'm talking to on the phone. You know, he talking loud because he, you know what I mean? So I said, your boss want to talk to you. He said, my boss. And so Cecil Partee screamed through the phone. Tell him, get his aide to the phone. He get to the phone. Cecil Partee says, hey, you go back in there and you rescind your objection because Gator has became a pillar in the community from where he come from. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna fax you a letter. And you go back in there and you read the letter. And he read the letter. We no longer object to him having a pardon because I had changed, I had transformed. It wasn't that I didn't commit the crime. It was the fact that I became a citizen. You know,
You
the
did exactly
redemption
what
piece
we
I
want
did is right.
the system to do.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's how it worked. Me, my wife, well, she's my wife now. She was my girlfriend and my son.
We were going to have limited time. I knew it. You're coming back. I know that already.
Right.
But we talked about this. When someone like you, I mean, you were an enforcer, and you are a well-respected, well-connected political and community activist. And then, as we talked about, every time we say we got it, a test will come.
Right.
And one of those many tests for you was on August 5th, 2020, shortly after your brother, James Kelly, was released, compassionate release.
Yeah.
Shortly after release from prison, what was it, barely 2 weeks?
Less than that. I'll say about 5 days. It wasn't even a 4 week.
Good grief. Murdered.
Right.
72 years old,
Right.
released from prison.
Right.
And you were receiving, I read a New York, a Los Angeles Times piece on it. You were receiving calls. There's a
Everywhere.
system from everywhere going, what should we do? And your response was, vengeance belongs to God.
Correct.
And it was in that moment, Brother Gator, where I went, and that is what the power of transformation
Correct.
is. It's not the good times. It's not when you're sitting there and I see all these pictures of you with politicians, you're moving and shaking. It is when an attack like that comes to the core of your being and you don't lean into default positions. And that is part of why I wanted to meet you. I do want to ask you in our remaining time, before you come back again, tell me, Terry, who your mom left you a lot of gifts.
Yeah, ain't no question. Ain't no question.
Well, one of the gifts she left you was introducing you to Terry. Tell
Yes,
me
sir.
about how you met Terry,
You know,
and then what today is for you and Terry.
Today is our anniversary.
How many?
We've been together 41 years.
Come on.
I've been blessed by God that He allowed her to make the decision to marry me 3 times. That's why you see me with my double bubble on. You know what I mean? You know.
She chose you 3 times.
Yeah, 3 times. I married her 3 times. Second time I married over in Israel. You know, I was with Prince Osir of the Hebrew Israelites. You know, went to the Jordan River, did good things in the Sea of Galilee. Got a son that was conceived there named Leviticus. You know, I'm really in it. My mother saw me when I come back on 47th Street. She said, "You doing back down here? You know, so what? You no longer married. You know, you're going through your thing. You know what I mean?" So she called Terry and asked Terry. She said, "Young lady, could you go buy me a pack of cigarettes?" And she called my mother Miss Ida, and the name stuck, Miss Ida. So go buy the cigarettes, and my mother said, "See, I know what you like. Look at her." She said, "Not only that, what I like about her, she wears a slip." You follow what I'm saying?
I do.
So when Terry come back, you know, I'm hustling. I give her $500. I say, "Look, I don't know what I may be doing. So you too nice to be," and because I don't know. I don't want to be responsible for you getting hurt because I don't know. I'm in a space where I don't know. I don't care. You know, I done fell out of love. So you know how that go.
Yeah.
When you fall out of love, you
All
in a
bets
dark
are off.
spot. You
Yes.
don't care.
Yeah.
At the time, I didn't know that she had fell out of love with someone. She was getting a divorce. I got a divorce. I give her the money, she threw the money down. And one thing about my mother, CEO, she said, "Girl, I know it's my son, but you get that N-word, it's money."
Okay.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
That's-
okay. So Terry was letting me know, hey, she wasn't that type of girl. She was working downtown. She was with Jewel LaFontaine. You know what I mean? That's John Rogers' mother. So we sitting at the bar, you know, we talking, you know, and, you know, I'm saying, you know, B ain't nothing because I'm going in my thing. She's saying, "Well, I ain't nothing. She's going to do her thing." So I said, "Okay, I'll buy the first drink."
I'm going to stop you.
You buy the second drink.
I got to stop you there.
Amen.
Oh, man.
Amen.
Gator, I can talk to you. You've got a life. We're going to talk more. This is
Right, no
just the
question.
first time of us getting together. You are part of this station, so I know we'll talk more.
Right.
I cannot thank you enough, really, my brother, for sitting here with me in conversation. We're not done yet.
Right.
Your journey is a living example. In your continuing journey, you're not done yet. It's a living example of the old adage, how you start doesn't have to dictate how you finish.
That's that dash game.
Come on. Yes,
That
that's
dash that makes
it's
the
the dash. We're going to be right back after this. Gator and I are going to keep talking, but we'll be right back after this with 3 for the Road.
Right.
It's the dash that makes
Dash
the
that makes the difference.
At the end of each of these shows, we do something called a segment called 3 for the Road.
Okay.
Here's how it works. I'm going to ask you 3 questions. You're going to give me 3 answers.
You got it.
You ready to begin?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. If you could have dinner with one person, living or dead, who would it be and why?
My wife, Terry. You follow what I'm saying?
Tell me why.
Because the way that I was raised, families always came to the table at a certain time to have dinner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it made everything right. Whatever you left out there when you come in the house, this your peace of mind, this your quiet
That's
time.
your safe space.
Right. And knowing that she had prepared a meal
Oh, come on.
for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For me. It's better than going to a restaurant to eat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't have to wonder how clean the kitchen is.
Come on.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I do. Let me go to question 2. Let me stay focused.
Right.
Good answer. Do you have any regrets?
No. I have no regrets because I've learned so much from my trials and tribulations. And they say if you're not tested, you have no testimony.
You are having church up in here is what you're doing.
All right, that's what I do.
I got one. You do it well, my brother. I got one final question for you in this first part of our mini conversations. One piece of advice present-day Gator would have given to his 21-year-old self.
My 21-year-old self is stay focused and faith in God and put in righteous works.
That's as they
That's
say.
why I named my book From Murder to Excellence.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you this. This is what they used to say at Little Rock Baptist Church when the word had been given. The doors of the church are open.
Right.
Gator,
That's it.
I cannot thank seriously. We talked about this. We're in the dash moment, and I think it is important that we have these conversations and that we show our community and others that transformation is not only possible, but we all have a stake in the arena. Brother Gator, I have a question for you. I remember when I moved to Chicago 13 years ago, and I called my mom. I said, Mom, the violence here, and people talk about Detroit, my hometown. I said, but the violence here, we're going to lose an entire generation. Right. You've been at this for a minute. What is happening? Are we making progress? And if not, why not?
You know, what is happening is that we're making progress, but the media don't talk about the progress that we're making. Okay. They're putting all the emphasis on the individuals that's doing wrong. Okay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm a progress. I'm just one of many that has transformed. Okay? Within just the Gator Disciples, we was over 10,000 some members. And I'm seeing the guys that's parents and grandparents, and we help push criminal justice reform. We got educated because Larry Hoover said, hey man, we all come in functioning illiterate. We all got to go to school. That's why.
That's the leader.
That's the leader. That's why when he made the decision here recently, because we're going to talk some more.
Oh, yes, we are.
Because it's a good question that you asked. When he let them know, he's no longer the chairman of Gangster Disciples. He don't want nothing to do with Gangster Disciples or no criminal entity. So we're going to work this out because we know what to do. When Mayor Lightfoot says, Gator, I'm not afraid of you, come on and work with me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, when the governor, Gator, I'm not afraid of you, come on and work with me. So now they see me as a political consultant instead of an enforcer. And when Larry made me the enforcer, or for lack of a better phrase, to consider Larry, it was for the peace.
Brother Gator, and I mean that. Brother Gator, it feels
God
like home.
gave us to do this.
I don't believe in luck and happenstance.
And I want to say this.
Order. Yes, sir.
To God be the glory, but I want to say, Detroit, y'all the one that made me aware of those now later Gators.
Come on.
So I know.
Okay, see, you know, that's respect, brother. I respect you. Come on, Gator.
Right.
Okay? Come on. I appreciate you.
Man.
Oh, my gosh. You all are welcome. Listen, I can't thank Brother Gator enough for sharing his life and in doing so inspiring others to tap into the courage needed to change the trajectory of theirs. And thank you, Chicago and beyond, for watching. Listen, I'm going to leave you with one final thought for the road, courtesy of Robin Sharma. Yes, your transformation will be hard. Yes, you will feel frightened, messed up, and knocked down. Yes, you'll want to stop. Yes, it's the best work you'll ever do. Until next time, take good care of you and each other, Chicago. Good night.